Alphabet reported stellar earnings last week. However, that's not today's story. Today's story is about Waymo, which just announced is doing 250,000 fully autonomous paid weekly rides. This still puts them on exponential growth. And if they continue this growth, they should be seeing 1 million weekly rides by December. Can they continue this? This just seems absolutely nuts. Let's go ahead and just jump right into the articles. First of all, we have Sundar Pichai saying they are growing so fast that they can't possibly do it all themselves. He told analysts on the earnings call that Waymo is actively exploring ways to scale up its business, saying we can't possibly do it all ourselves. They're working on partnerships with Uber and automakers as well as maintenance business. We know that over in Austin, Uber has launched with Waymo and it has been deemed an absolute success. I would imagine that they're looking at partnering other cities together. And then also Waymo is partnering with some startup businesses in the maintenance section, because right now they're handling all of the maintenance, charging, cleaning, etc. for all of these vehicles for their fleet. And in order to keep expanding exponentially, they're going to have to partner with other people to have them help out with this. And so that is exactly what Sundar is talking about. As far as automakers go, they have been tapping into Kia as well as Zeekr to provide them with their newer vehicles. This will substantially bring down costs on the cars, especially now that lidar is being mass produced. And so the cost of the sensor, which started off being $5,000, is estimated to be as low as $200 once mass production hits. But that's not all. CEO Sundar Pichai told us that Alphabet may offer robotaxis for personal ownership in the future. What? You could own your own Waymo? I would be the first in line to get this. Waymo is absolutely fantastic. You're talking about the extra redundancy with the lidar system. They have the AI, complete AI vision system. They have sound. They have lidar radar. This is the complete package. He's saying May, though. Will they do this? I don't know. This is a tough one. It's like they probably are exploring options. And this is something where I've been saying Sundar needs to be a little bit more lively and speak up. And so I'm so happy that he said this, okay? Because everybody else makes promises. So why can't Google do it? Go out there, Sundar, get our hopes up. Let us know that maybe one day we'll be able to own a Waymo, you know, and then if you're like anybody else in the market, it could take 5, 6, 7 years. Who knows? Does it really seem possible? They might do it. Maybe they would sell old ones. But right now, I don't think it's in their projected future just because they are scaling so fast with Waymo. I just think they have too much on their plate. However, I'm just very happy that he announced this, and I personally would love to see it happen. And then, of course, Elon, who feels very threatened by Waymo, at his earnings call, this was one of the statements he made. Well, okay, the issue with Waymo's cars is they cost way more money. But that is the issue. The car is very expensive, made in low volume. Teslas will probably cost 25 or 20% of what a Waymo costs and made in very high volume. So ironically, like we're the ones to make the bet that a pure AI solution with cameras and what do you have, the car actually will listen for sirens and that kind of thing. It's the right move. And Waymo decided that an expensive sensor suite is the way to go, even though Google is very good at AI. So I'm wondering, and it is worth noting that Tesla is both an incredible AI software team and AI hardware chip design team. That is just the weirdest answer. It sounds like he's just basically rambling. But what we have here is that he's basically emphasizing the fact of the cost. He wants you to remember Waymo's cost more. That is the physical car. And he's absolutely correct on the Jaguar series. In the previous generation of Waymo, when lidar wasn't being mass produced like it is right now in China. Okay, so with the autonomous driving assistance suites that are coming out, China is leading the way. And lidar is equipped on many of these vehicles, and lidar is being used in many other areas. And so the cost of lidar is rapidly coming down, just like it does with any widget. When you take any widget out there and you build it at small scale, it costs more. As you scale up, it costs less. If you don't understand this, I would just say, look at Apple with the iPhone. Look at Samsung with their phones. when you run a product and you're building a few 100,000 of them, your cost might be X. But if you're going to build a few million of them, you can refine your process and your cost is going to be less than X. It's just the way economies of scale happen to work. And we're seeing this right now with lidar. That's why lidar, which costed, some of these lidar sensors costed $5,000 a few years ago, they're already costing like half of that right now, and they're predicted to get down to $200. In fact, they're probably way under half of that, because that was last April that was announced that they were like $2,000 to $3,000. So now they're probably under that, but they are predicted to get down to as cheap as $200, which is absolutely incredible. This article then, once you had Elon say that, and he also says some nonsense like Tesla's going to grab 99% of the rideshare market, okay? Remember, Tesla has not served one single fully autonomous paid ride, or one single fully autonomous ride, paid or not, and not one paid ride either. So, but yet they're going to capture 99% of the market. Waymo founder, Tesla hoped to compete with Waymo, but failed utterly and completely for 10 years. So this was John shooting back, John Krafik. Waymo founder, former CEO, clapped back at Tesla CEO Elon Musk after his comments on Waymo at Tesla's earnings call earlier last week. So right here, Musk even stated he doesn't see anyone competing with Tesla on autonomous driving, and that he believes Tesla will take 90-something% market share. I do believe in a tweet he said 99%. And then he said this about Waymo, and it's true, you know, so Electric points this out, that Waymo vehicles are more expensive. And this has little to do with an expensive sensor suite, as Musk claims. This is correct. The lidar cost is inconsequential. It's the fact that Tesla builds their vehicles at scale. So while I'm saying that Elon is wrong about, and he knows he's wrong, that they don't cost 4 to 5 times as much, they're never going to be as cheap as a Tesla, but they don't need to be. Because what Sundar said about you owning a Waymo, even if they were to offer that, they're not going to be competing in the car business. They're not going to be like, oh, hey, we're going to be Ford. They don't need to be. They're just saying, hey, maybe we have these vehicles. We're done using them. We're going to just open up to the market. You can purchase this. Just kind of like like the ride shares at the airports would do. Sorry, every single one of them, Hertz, or any of these places where you can rent a car, they'll sell their fleet after being used for a few years. That's what is being referred to here. They're not going to enter the market like that. So it really doesn't matter. And then Krafik told Business Insider, in the long run, the cost of sensors has a trivial cost per mile impact over the useful life of a robotaxi, he told BI, while also providing massive quantifiable safety benefits. He then went on, Tesla's never competed with Waymo. They've never sold a robotaxi ride to a public rider, but they've sold a lot of cars. And although Tesla hopes to compete with Waymo someday, they failed utterly and completely at this for each of the 10 years they've been talking about it. And this is correct. For the last 10 years, Elon has been promising these types of things, and they just simply have not materialized. Okay, in June, Tesla plans to launch a limited 10 to 20 car fleet to provide geofence and teleoperated assisted rides in Austin. So again, I point this out all the time on this channel, how all the Tesla fanboys were making fun of Waymo. In fact, they're still out there making fun of Waymo, saying it's geofence, it's teleoperated. And Tesla's first offerings are going to be geofence and teleoperated. And they're not teleoperated the same way. I will get into that later. Krafik finally added, well, after 10 years of undelivered promises, it seems pretty rational for those watching to be data and evidence driven. There's still a lot of promises, still no Tesla liability for FSD driving performance, and still no universal robotaxi service. So what is he talking about here? He's saying that Tesla will not take any liability for this. And by doing that, they're showing that their suite is not capable. Okay, this isn't the case with Waymo. Waymo has full liability. They are 100% responsible for anything that happens in the Waymo vehicle. Tesla doesn't do that. In fact, Tesla's working with the government. Okay, they just changed the rules at the dot, and this is a win for Tesla, a loss for Waymo. Okay, the new rule change that came in, and you know Elon was in their ear about this. This week could allow automakers to report fewer crashes involving self-driving cars. Okay, with Tesla potentially emerging as a main beneficiary. The Transportation Department announced Thursday it will no longer require automakers to report certain kinds of non-fatal crashes, but the exception will apply only to partial self-driving vehicles using the so-called level 2 systems, the kind Tesla deploys per the AP. So what this means is that Tesla, they don't want to take liability for their car. You'll often hear this when their cars are crashing, and they're going to blame the user every single time. And now they've worked with the Trump administration where if the crash is non-fatal, they don't even have to report it. Because before they were having to report these numbers to the government, and they didn't like that because it puts them in a bad light. And so they're considered a level 2 autonomous system. There's 5 levels. They're not even level 3 or 4 yet. Waymo, of course, is level 5. And what's going on is that Elon got the rule changed for Tesla so that they don't have to report this, but they didn't change it for anybody else. And when I say that, I shouldn't say just for Tesla. They changed it for level 2 systems, but they didn't change it for 3, 4, or 5. So the more advanced systems, if they get an offender bender, they got to report it to the government. But the lesser advanced systems like this, if they get an offender bender due to their advanced driving assistance suite, they don't have to report it to the government. Make a lot of sense? Of course not, but that's America. Last thing we got down here is Tesla robotaxi test details shared in a recent report, 300 operator safety tests and more. So I got to talk about this with the teleoperators, right? We can see here that Tesla has launched the details that come out about their robotaxi, and it's been reported that by Simon here, where is it? Citing test drivers, oh, right here. Tesla has reportedly had discussion about using remote operators as safety drivers when the service goes live for customers. Some test drivers have been moved into remote operator roles for this purpose, the publication source claimed. Okay, so we know for a fact that Tesla hired teleoperators, right? But they're talking about having literal, not just teleoperators in case of emergency, but remote operators that are driving the vehicles for you remotely in Austin. Okay, and this is not what Waymo has. I've discussed this. This is the paper. It's called Fleet Response. Sorry that's not coming up on the screen correctly. But basically what happens here is that with the Waymo driver, that's the AI that drives the Waymo, when it gets into a tough situation, like you see this right here, let's just say it's a crazy situation going on. You can see this right here. It's an illustrated view of Waymo's fleet response tooling, which provides personal real-time insights into a 3D scene of where a Waymo vehicle is operating. It does this through a combination of lidar and vision AI. And it's saying if it gets into a situation that it cannot happen, that it cannot handle, it will call a teleoperator, but the teleoperator does not take control of the car. What the teleoperator does is just starts giving it instructions, talking to it essentially. Like you would talk to ChatGPT, just start sending it instructions, kind of asking it to contextualize its environment and give recommendation of what they would do. And what actually happens is the Waymo driver, okay, so like right here, let's just read through this. Much like phone a friend, when the Waymo vehicle encounters a particular situation on the road, the autonomous driver can reach out to a human fleet response agent for additional information to contextualize its environment. The Waymo driver does not rely solely on the inputs it receives from the fleet response agent, and it is in control of the vehicle at all times. The Waymo driver is, not the teleoperator, okay? As the Waymo driver waits for input from fleet response, not input like driving input like this is what we think you should do, this is called a parade, blah, 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 this is how you handle this. And even after receiving the input, the Waymo driver continues using available information to inform its decision, okay? So even though it's receiving stuff from the teleoperator, it's still gonna be using the data it's receiving right now. It doesn't have to use the inputs it gets from the remote operator. This is important because given the dynamic conditions on the road, the environment around the car can change, which either remedies the situation or influences how the Waymo driver should proceed. In fact, the vast majority of such situations are resolved without assistance by the Waymo driver. So what's going on here? It's saying it gets into this weird situation. It sees like this right here. This probably isn't a big deal for it now, but it sees the people on the street, right, who are directing traffic. And maybe back in the day, it didn't know how to handle this. So then it calls up a teleoperator and says, hey, how do I handle this? And teleoperator can, it sends it this map up here, it sends it a visual representation, but then the lidar is able to create this detailed 3D mapping of it. And it sends that to the person, to the teleoperator. And the teleoperator is going to write back and contextualize like, oh, this is a safety person and they're directing traffic. And when he holds his hand out like that, you got to stop. And when he holds it like this, you got to go. And so maybe the Waymo driver will use that information, and then it'll utilize that and it'll go ahead and it'll complete its action utilizing that input. However, maybe the Waymo driver, as the person is typing, it is like, oh, wait, I know what's going on here. And it resolves the issue itself. Okay? So it's not like someone literally taking control of the car. And I just got to drive home this fact, because this is what Tesla fanboys, they've been lied to for so many years and they only realize it. Okay? They're saying, hey, the Waymo driver, teleoperator, geofence, all these bad things. These are bad things, right? And then look, Tesla releases in Austin right now. They're pre-mapping it. Okay, it's geofence, and they're not just going to have teleoperators. They might remotely operate the vehicles. They literally might having someone driving the car remotely. I mean, like, come on, people! Don't you see the scam that's going on here? Rideshare market in San Francisco. Okay, right now, as of January 2025, we can see that as per share of the dollars that are captured, Waymo is capturing 14.3% of all the ride share market in San Francisco, the dollars that are spent. That was in January. Remember, they're growing exponentially, so this line would still be going up. And we know that they have surpassed Lyft in San Francisco for the percentage of rides. They're offering less money. Now, we don't know what they get on average for each ride, but we do know that, I think it was like a couple of years ago, it was released that the average ride is $20 to $27. So it's probably up now, but let's say like the average rideshare ride is $25. So if you're doing 250,000, you times that by 25, right? So 10 to 2.5 million, so $6 million, that you're getting each week. Now we take that, we times that by a million, it's $25 million. So Waymo is just moving up. It's absolutely crazy. Okay, we can see right here, they're in Phoenix. Waymo 1 is open to all 315 square miles of the Valley of the Sun. San Francisco, okay, they're mapping right now the airport. Once they open up to that, that'll be just, they might start competing with Uber pretty soon in San Francisco in a couple of years. Los Angeles, Austin, Atlanta, Miami, also Tokyo, okay? So is it time? Nobody is pricing in Waymo into Alphabet stock. Is it time that people start looking at Waymo a little bit more seriously? Is it time that we look at the carnival barker, Elon, a little less seriously? He's saying he's going to have 90% plus, 99% of the rideshare market. He literally does not have 8% even. He has 0% of it right now. So he's just going to come on and he's going to take Waymo's 250,000. By the time he releases it, Waymo's going to be at 1 million rides a week. And all those rides are just going to magically go over. Or he's going to offer 99 million rides a week just as soon as he debuts. Like, none of this makes any sense at all. Okay? And he's 10 to 20 cars in Austin. I mean, you can't offer 99 million rides on 10 to 20 cars. Okay? I'm just saying. Their service is still probably at least 2 to 3 years away. And by then, Waymo could be in the millions of rides per week. That's what I got for you. A lot of great Waymo news. Undisputed leader in this space. Fully autonomous rideshare. All of you out there, have a great day.